Today, we're making stuffed tofu with tomato sauce, and the Vietnamese name for it is a mouthful. Tofu Nhồi Thịt Sốt Chua, but I promise you, you're gonna wanna stuff your mouth with this dish. This is a quintessential Vietnamese home-cooked classic. Fried tofu is stuffed with seasoned ground pork and simmered in a rich tomato sauce. And this dish was one of the very first dish I saw my mom make, and it helped inspire a lifetime's worth of cooking for me. The nostalgia is so real, and I'm excited to pass this recipe along to you. Alright y'all, remember to wash your hands. The first step in making our stuffed tofu is getting our filling ready. We'll start by rehydrating a quarter cup of dried wood ear mushrooms in some room temp water for about 10 minutes. And then I have some glass noodles, also known as bean thread noodles or mien. And I'm gonna soak that in some warm water for about 10 minutes too. We'll put those to the side, and then we're gonna chop up some green onions. Then we'll finally mince up a small shallot. And then after 10 minutes, we'll drain both the wood ear mushrooms and bean thread noodles. Go ahead and chop both of those up into little pieces. And if you like this recipe and you want to learn how to make more of your favorite Vietnamese and Asian dishes, make sure you subscribe and turn on your notifications to stay up to date on all my latest posts. Once we have all that done, we're gonna put everything together. We have half a pound of lean ground pork, and you could actually sub this out with chicken or turkey if your heart desires, but ground pork is traditional to this recipe. To the ground pork, we'll add some of our shallots and green onions, and don't use all of it here as we'll need some of this for the sauce later. We'll add our rehydrated wood ear mushrooms and glass noodles. Then I have a tablespoon of minced garlic, and I always process whole garlic cloves ahead of time and store them in the fridge so that I always have minced garlic handy. We're gonna season our mixture with half a tablespoon of fish sauce, sugar, and MSG. We'll hit that with some salt and pepper and a splash of oil. We'll give that a really good mix, and with any recipe, you'll want to make sure that you adjust seasoning to your own palate. And for the filling, you can take a small spoonful and toss it in a frying pan to cook to make sure that it's seasoned to your liking. Once this is all mixed up, we'll put this to the side. For step 2, we'll stuff our tofu and get it all cooked up. I have 12 ounces of fried tofu, and these are already cut in large squares. If you can't find these bigger ones, you could definitely use raw extra firm tofu and cut them to size accordingly. I'm gonna take these squares and cut them into 4 triangles, and then we'll cut a slit right down the middle for our filling. I've also seen recipes cut these into squares and hollow out some of the tofu instead, but this is how my mom always made it, and the end product will look extra stuffed and nothing goes to waste. We'll take our filling, and using a spoon, we'll stuff our tofu pockets. And I'm using the backside of the spoon to flatten out the filling to give it a more uniform look. When they're done, they should look like this. Then to a large pan, we'll add in just enough oil to cover the bottom of the pan. I used about half a cup of oil here. And then we're gonna drop in our stuffed tofu and fry them on each side for a minute or two. We're not looking to cook the filling entirely through, we just wanna get these sealed up and add some color to them. If you didn't wanna braise these tofu pockets in the tomato sauce though, you could actually cook this through and just enjoyed fried stuffed tofu too. In any case, if your pan isn't big enough, make sure you do these in batches so that you don't overcrowd the pan and end up steaming the tofu instead. When they're all fried up, we'll move it either to a cooling rack or a dish with a paper towel to cool off. And step 3 is making our sauce. To a clean pan, we'll add a splash of oil. We'll drop in our remaining minced shallots and green onions, and we'll saute this for just a minute or until fragrant. To that, we'll add a tablespoon of tomato paste and cook that for another minute. And then I have some Roma tomatoes, and we're just gonna cut these into quarters and drop that into the pan. Move those around, and then we'll drop in a tablespoon of minced garlic. I like adding the garlic after because I don't want it to cook too quickly and burn. Otherwise our sauce will have an acrid finish, and that's just not what we want. We'll continue to saute this for just a couple minutes, and then we'll add in a cup of water. We're gonna season our tomato sauce with a tablespoon of fish sauce, sugar, chicken bouillon, salt and pepper to taste. We'll bring this up to a boil. We'll add our stuffed tofu back into the pan. Reduce the heat and let this simmer covered for about half an hour. Every 10 to 15 minutes or so, make sure you do move around your tofu so that it can really soak up the sauce. After it's done simmering, make any final adjustments to your seasoning, and then we'll get some of the tofu and tomato sauce into a bowl. We'll garnish this simply with just green onions. And we're serving this up with some white jasmine rice. And that's our Tofu Nhồi Thịt Sốt. As always, the full recipe and measurements is on my blog at feedthepudge.com. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoy.